project for our African American Studies II class, and basically what we're going to do is talk about the perspective of African American students at HBCUs. Let's introduce ourselves. My name is Angelique Perkins. I'm a sophomore public relations major from Damascus, Maryland.
Hello, my name is Autasia Ramos. I'm a sophomore public relations major from Brooklyn, New York.
Hi, I'm McClay, sophomore journalism major from Cleveland, Ohio.
And I'm Daija, a sophomore biology major from Washington, D.C.
All right, so Daija's going to start out with our first question of the evening.
Okay, so the first question that we have for these two are, do you think that your experience at an HBCU is more beneficial than the one that you will receive at a PWI?
Okay. I came to an HBCU purposely because I am from a predominantly African American area, but I definitely wanted to be in an environment where I see African American people just like myself flourish and not be so, poverty stricken and just have to deal with, certain things in society. So I do think the experience and the culture that I'm getting here is different from one I would find at a PWI. Speaking to friends, they find that they like their PWI, but they constantly have to always have to just deal with some type of issue with, people of other races. But here I feel like we're all just here trying to better ourselves, and in this competitive environment, we are becoming prepared for the real world.
I would have to agree. My high school was predominantly white. It was a private school, and it was small. There were about 400 students in our entire high school, and about those, about 5%, 4% were African American Black students. So I feel like coming to an HBCU, I agree with her, like it allows you to flourish, but I don't have to worry about the stigmas placed on you and just like the underlying, anything you can possibly think of that goes on in institutions, and it prepares you for the real world to flourish, like in your own skin and your own self when you are in a different workforce. So I think it is definitely beneficial.
Good. Thank you. So how do you feel about the African American Studies program and the presence of African American Studies in almost every course that you take at our university?
Okay, I guess I'll start. Well, I feel like it's necessary. It's essential because essentially we are African American. That's something we can't ignore. I mean, we can ignore it here because we all look the same, but in the real world, nobody else is ignoring that we're African Americans. So I think it's important to embrace that culture and make it aware in everything we do, because when we work in everything we do, we're always going to be African American. So I think it's important to work on that, build that, recognize it, and grow from that.
I love the fact that African American Studies is presented in a lot of the courses here. I'm actually an African American Studies minor, so it's just something I am really interested in. I think that it's important because in English, when you're learning about, in a regular school, Great Gatsby stuff, that's good, it's a white author, but what about all these amazing works by African American authors, and what do we contribute to history and society? So I do think that it is really nice having that in all the courses.
So being that Howard is located in D.C., the nation's capital, do you feel more impelled or motivated to be a part of the political world?
I guess I can speak for myself. I definitely do. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. It's I don't know. A lot of the African Americans in like certain parts of it aren't really aware of a lot of political issues, and there aren't today. I mean, we have things like Twitter that keeps us in tune and stuff, like social media, but I feel like being here, you walk down the street, you see the White House, Mike Brown, you see people rallying in the streets to motivate others in the state. So I do think that being in my location, just by going outside, I'm more aware and more prone to be more active in the political world.
I think that not only being in DC is making me want to become more politically active, but even at Howard University, where we are movers and shakers. So if we see something happening in the community, or the Mike Brown incident, we all went and protested. Like, just being here and knowing that we can make a difference, and then being in DC, it just makes it more accessible to me.
Right. So with that being said, the example that you use with Mike Brown, do you think that African American students, specifically at HBCUs, are as motivated as African American students were back in the 1960s or in that era of the civil rights movement?
I think that they're motivated, but we just need to find out how we can mobilize and do something. I think that in the 60s there was the civil rights movement, so you had leaders like Dr. King and like Jesse Jackson, other like leaders who were just like, okay, they were kind of the leaders, so it was just like, okay, we're doing this, they're doing the protest here, we can actually do one here. But it's like now everyone's just kind of like, what do we do? We're protesting, but what's the next step? So I think they care, but they just need to find out how they can take it to the next level.
I agree. I think that we're affected by it and we realize that, but we aren't quick to put in motion as they were. Like in the past, in the 60s, like we see laws changing, we see different things happening. Here, like we see that, oh, this law, we're all equal. We have it written that there's no racism, or like we're equal, there's no discrimination. But so we're like, it's an illusion that that's actually what it is. So if we just don't do anything, people are like, everything's fine, but it's not. So I feel like we're less prone to put in action than they were before. But like, I don't know. I feel like as long as we, as college students at HBCUs, are aware, that's like the first step to like move forward.
Okay, well, thank you, ladies. This concludes our segment on African American students at HBCUs and their perspective. Thank you. Okay.